We'd like to begin with plenary session for day 2, Singapore, the Springboard for South Asia. This features once again another stellar cast of speakers and our moderator. It gives me great pleasure to invite them on stage, beginning with our moderator, Mr. Girija Pande, Chairman for Tata Consultancy Asia Pacific. A big warm welcome, please. Thank you very much. He's joined by Singapore's Relevance to South Asia, the title of the presenter, Mr. Piyush Gupta, Chief Executive Officer, DBS Group Holdings Limited and DBS Bank Limited, Singapore. Good morning, Mr. Gupta. I'm sure all of us are a fan for our next speaker's brand, Chairman, Singapore Management University and Executive Chairman for Banyan Tree Holdings Limited, Singapore, Mr. Kwon, please. It now gives me great pleasure to invite Ms. Chong Siak Ching, President and Chief Executive Officer, Ascendus Private Limited, Singapore. A big warm welcome, please. Morning, Madam Chairman. Always a pleasure seeing you. Last but not the least, Global Chief Executive Officer for Meinhardt Group International, Singapore, Dr. S. Nasim. Good morning, Dr. Nasim. We have a long and very detailed panel session, which includes speakers coming up to present, and we have scheduled time for Q&As. Just like yesterday, we encourage you to please pose your questions, get our attention, and we'll proceed to your location with the microphone. And it gives me great pleasure now to hand the stage over to our moderator, Mr. Girija Pande. Mr. Girija Pande, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know we've had a great evening last night, and I think people are still recovering from the great dinner late night. So I thought it's a good opportunity for me to start with a quick recap of the subjects we covered yesterday and how this fits in to what we are going to talk about today. We have a great lineup. In South Asians always understand cricket very much, so we've got a great batting lineup today. And I will introduce them as we go along. So yesterday we covered in 4 sessions. We started with the resurgent South Asia, and people talked about the economy of the South Asian countries. We then talked about South Asia as the outsiders see it, and I think that was a perspective we got from Japanese, Korean, American perspective on South Asia. We talked about media and diaspora and how media can be useful in the diaspora connections. And then we moved on to entrepreneurs and the diaspora, and we had some interesting discussions of the entrepreneurs across South Asia, which you heard. Now, today we are talking about Singapore as the springboard for South Asia. That's the topic we are covering. I think we all understand the value of regional integration in South Asia. And we all understand that the diaspora needs to come across. And I believe, and this conference theme is a very unique positioning for Singapore in this diaspora integration. And probably Singapore is well ahead of others in taking the lead in positioning itself for the growth of the diaspora, as we heard yesterday. Now, the things that we want to talk about today is how does Singapore add value to the diaspora? What does the diaspora gain by situating themselves or regional offices of their companies here? What is the relevance over centers like Dubai or Hong Kong? And I mean, there's an example of 3,000 Indian companies who are positioned here for the East Asian market. And how can, say, alternatively, the GLCs, these are the government-linked companies, the large ones in Singapore, how can they forge connections with the diaspora to work there? The second theme, which broadly we wanted to cover, is what particular offerings, products, and markets that they can access by locating here, and what can be taken up in their own markets from the Singapore experience. We are going to talk about the experience of Singapore in real estate investment trusts, very unique feature of a Singapore financial system, and how that could be handled. Similarly, on entrepreneurship, what is the ecosystem that exists here which encourages entrepreneurship, how the government has created a whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship. And lastly, I thought it's a good opportunity to see what is the role we see for the diaspora in creating and catalyzing the intra-South Asia wide commerce, and how Singapore can be both an incubator and accelerator in this process. I think that's what the theme we want to cover. Let me just begin by introducing this great cast, the great batting lineup, as I said to you. These are all senior business leaders situated here who have seen the benefits of using Singapore. As it happens, 2 of them are from the Chinese diaspora and 2 of them are from the South Asian diaspora. So it's an interesting mix we have here. The first speaker is Piyush Gupta. It's very difficult to introduce Piyush to this audience because I think everyone knows him. But let me make the effort. Piyush is the CEO of DBS Bank and the DBS Group Holding. He's also the CEO of the Islamic Bank of Asia Limited, and he was formerly with Citigroup for many years in Southeast Asia and has held senior management roles when he was in Citi. He now serves on the board of a group of experts to ASEAN Capital Market Forum, Institute of Banking and Finance, a Global Indian Foundation, and a MasterCard Asia Pacific and Middle East. He's on the Regional Advisory Board. He's also on the advisory board of Sim Kee Boon Institute of Financial Economics and member of the Human Capital Leadership Institute, Governing Council, and the Institute of International Finance in the emerging markets. So please welcome Piyush Gupta. Our second speaker in the batting lineup is a lady who's very well known again in Singapore. And more importantly, she's probably very well known in India as well, as she has done probably the business leader I have interacted for many years who knows India the best in Singapore, the insides and how to work in India. Mr. Chong Siak Ching is the president and CEO of Ascendas, a company with a presence in 10 countries across Asia. She was previously deputy CEO of JTC Corporation. She currently sits on the board of Singapore Press Holdings and National University of Singapore Board of Trustees. She is the deputy chairman of Singapore Enterprise Development Agency, SPRING, and also on the management board of the Institute of Real Estate Studies at NUS and the advisory board of Nanyang Business School. She was recognized as the Outstanding CEO of the Year in Singapore Business Awards 2009 for her leadership and dynamism in establishing Ascendas as Asia's leading provider of business space. Please welcome Siak Ching. The third speaker who we have today is Mr. Ho Kwon Ping, chairman of Singapore Management University, SMU, and the executive chairman of Banyan Tree Holdings Limited, Singapore. Mr. Ho, apart from chairing SMU, is also the executive chairman of Banyan Tree Holdings, which owns both listed and private companies engaged in the development, ownership, and operations of hotels, resorts, spas, residential homes, retail galleries, and other lifestyle activities in the region. He set up Banyan Tree Hotels and Resorts in 1994 as the company's own global hotel brand to build and manage luxury boutique hotels and resorts. It's been 20 years. It has 20 resorts with close to 30 properties in pipeline to open by 2013. He was conferred an honorary doctorate by Johnson Wales and Wales University, and his awards include Corporate Awards 2008 and Hospitality Lifetime Achievement Award 2009. In 2010, he was the first Asian to receive American Creativity Association Lifetime Achievement Award for his creativity and innovation in various spheres of endeavor. Please welcome Mr. Ho. And lastly, we have Dr. S. Nasim, who is the global CEO of Meinhard International Group based in Singapore. He is a professional structural engineer with nearly 4 decades of experience. Dr. Nasim now helms the Meinhard International Group as global chief executive with oversight of Meinhard's strategic direction, business expansion, key clients, and major projects. He has led some of Asia's landmark projects, including commercial offices, residential, retail, and entertainment complexes. His prominent projects in Singapore include the OUB Center, the Sail at Marina, Pontiac Marina, One Raffles Quay, and Marina Bay Financial Center. Last year, he led a management buyout of the group from his former Australian owners and moved the global headquarters to Singapore from Melbourne. Minehart employs some 3,500 employees around the world and consults on projects worth over $15 billion annually. Dr. Nasim is regularly invited to speak at local and regional conferences and has numerous papers to his credit. He also served as the board member of the Building and Construction Authority, Professional Engineers Board and Board of Architects, and a resource panelist on the National Development Government Parliamentary Committee, and a member on the Advisory Committee of Nanyang Technological University School of Civil and Environmental Engineers. Please welcome Dr. Nasim.